Dear Going Crazy, thank you for your letter. First, let me say how much I appreciate your transparency and intention to move forward with clear interpersonal communication skills. It's often difficult to share and disclose personal information to someone about whom you know very little. In this short message, I will explore the role of perception as it relates to texting. Second, I'll discuss self-disclosure as it relates to boundaries. And finally, offer some considerations for some action steps. Now let's start with perception. This is as unique and varied as a snowflake can be. And one of the greatest challenges to communication through texting particularly is ambiguity. We can't see expressions or hear the volume or pitch or intonation changes, and we can't read nonverbal cues. Incidentally, nonverbal cues make up over 85% of our language. According to the book Bridges Not Walls by Jon Stewart, our face is probably the most expressive part of our body and one of the most important focal points for nonverbal communication, which is probably one of the reasons why you want to meet. Secondly, texting can easily become misinterpreted. According to Scribendi, an editing and proofreading service, because texting and text messages cannot accurately convey tone, emotion, facial expressions, gestures, and body language and eye contact, oral speech, or face-to-face conversation, it's likely that the messages will be misinterpreted and misunderstood. The real meaning of your message gets lost through the medium. Perhaps part of your going crazy is your inability to know exactly the meaning of the texts, and your concern might be that you want to know more what he thinks or this person thinks, and that it is in line with what you really think it means. Another consideration is that text can be limited in revealing true identities, and it seems you wish to develop a relationship into more based on your core assumptions about what the person is texting. Indeed, we read much about the words of text, assuming our assumptions are correct. Yet the Bible says not to judge anything before its time in 1 Corinthians 4:8. Now, your self-disclosure, Tori, about your own personal life events implies that you want to build trust with this person. And you see that texting is one level of communication, and based on your assumptions that the texting is congruent with the person's emotions. In other words, this person is who they say they are. And you desire to meet with this person, and that implies that you want to develop a relationship beyond texting. Stewart states in his book, a useful tool is building trust by holding differences. Establishing trust in our relationship involves negotiations and considering the other's perspective. Let me give you a metaphor. The oar of a boat helps one move forward in a river. So I invite you to consider 3 considerations. Number 1. First, observe. People desire connection, and you want more than just connecting through texting, which leads me to my point about intentions. Watch and observe. This person's intentions may be different than yours. It is important to keep an open mind about the intentions of another individual. They may find that texting is sufficient for their level of connection. Initiating texts and stating that he likes you are signals about the next step in the relationship, but you may need more clarity. Secondly, ask. Ask yourself, can I trust what this person is really saying is actually true without the face-to-face interactions? Could my perceptions be different than theirs? So in the negotiation part of the relationship, ask yourself, what boundaries am I willing to set? And what part of these boundaries am I willing to disclose? And will you set a time limit? Will there be what we call a deal breaker? Thirdly, respond. Being honest with yourself is key, and being honest with them about yourself is key. It might be safe to ask the person why they're not interested in meeting. That may divulge a little bit more information about them. And you may also want to express your intentions in the relationship and see if the other person is willing to disclose their intentions. Finally, Tori, a word of encouragement and gentle advice. You are a good communicator. After all, you sought out help, which shows initiative and a desire to improve. Now it may be time for you to develop inner convictions about your core strengths. It seems that your sense of value may depend on the reactions of a distant texter, of whom you know very little about. So in conclusion, I gave you some thoughts about the role of perception in texting I gave you some information about disclosure, self-disclosure, and boundaries. And finally, I gave you some action steps. I wish you well in your relationships and wish you all the best.